Why do they call him Whitebeard when he's only got a white mustache? The challenges that the crew has faced have become increasingly more difficult, and they've been able to overcome them with each passing adventure. In this arc, they quite literally reach a wall that they cannot get past. How you gonna get punched in the face and break your legs too? You don't know, bro. This arc was like a gut punch. What? It was quick. It was painful. We're going here, and there were parts of it that took the wind out of me. It made me feel emotions that I did not necessarily want to feel. All of the arcs before this built up a trust in Luffy, like just trust in Luffy. When Luffy gets here, everything will be alright. Enies Lobby and Thriller Bark were saying don't give up and don't lose hope. Once again, put your trust in Luffy. And then you get to Sabaody Archipelago, and Luffy is one of 11 ship captains on that island. And he's not even the one with the highest bounty. I haven't even done the intro yet. Just okay. Hey, what's up? It's me, Traumatized. Welcome to my channel where I talk about anime, and I do anime related things. This is the State of the Sunny, where I provide my analysis and reaction to One Piece as I watch it for the first time. Like, comment, and subscribe. Let's get into it. Up until this arc, or I guess in comparison to this arc, the One Piece arcs have been relatively tame. There was a balance of good times and story progression with spurts of heightened conflict. There were some sad moments, but it was nothing that was really devastating. And in Sabaody Archipelago, they had a really bad time. What did I think about this arc? It's fantastic. It's amazing. Am I going to watch it for fun? No, I wouldn't. And I'm getting like this, but it's not for the reason why some people would assume. Like, of course, the thing that happens at the end, but it was just everything that's in between. It's kind of getting me like this, this really. My heart ached the whole entire way through. It was emotionally painful to watch. In this video, I will be discussing Duval, Sabaody Archipelago, obviously. Some people, I think it's also pronounced Sabaody Archipelago, but I'm gonna call it Sabaody because that's how it was pronounced when I was watching it. The Pirate Slave, Paranoia, the goodness of the Straw Hat Pirates, the 11 Supernovas, getting Camie back, that punch, Kid-in-Law, Rayleigh. I'm gonna take a break to rant about Luffy for a little bit. Haki, new superpowers, being overwhelmed, running away. Kuma, I'm gonna rant about Luffy a little bit more. Worthlessness and Hope, and then I'm going to finish off talking about Ace. They're looking around for Fishman Island because that's where the log post is pointed. It's pointing down where they don't know what's going on. They end up rescuing Camie and her starfish Papagoo, and Camie's a mermaid. And they all just like kind of forget that they met a mermaid before with Granny Kokoro. After that, it turns out that Camie's friend Haki, who we've actually met before because he was part of Arlong's gang, but Haki has been kidnapped by human traffickers.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait, first of all, you're not gonna speed past that like you didn't just say what you just said.
You don't throw around a phrase like that without capitalizing on it. So I'm just like, okay, so we're going here? Like we're going here? Like, okay. We're introduced to this formidable character with a mask on, and he's talking about getting revenge. And I'm just like, all right, it's someone that we've met before. All right, who could it be? Who could it be? And so I'm guessing. And I'm thinking, maybe it is... At first I thought it was Clawhador. Totally forgot how the conflict ended, but that's where my sister's watching it right now. I was like, it's him. Then he started talking about Sanji specifically. And I was thinking, oh, it must be that Marine that Sanji pissed off on the Baratier. In my mind, I was just trying to figure out who had beef with the Straw Hat crew, who would be available to come and fight them now. And I wasn't thinking about like the size of the dude that they were about to fight versus like the size of their past enemies. I was just like, who is it? His mask is kicked off. Never in my life would I have guessed that Sanji's jacked up wanted poster was not only a bad representation of Sanji, but it was someone else's actual face. His name is Duval, and he's about as ugly as homemade sand, and whenever he gets mad, he has this southern accent that starts to slip out. He's so ugly that he's making Frankie cry. Robin says whether it's a miracle or a tragedy, it's entertaining either way. And side note, I'm starting to like every single thing that Robin says. She's like passive, if not mildly entertained, and even in the most dire circumstances. And I can relate to that on a personal level. Back to the conflict. It was really nice to see the Straw Hats fighting the Flying Fish Riders and not struggling at all. They're even like having fun at certain points when these guys are like actively trying to take them down. Luffy's trying to ride on their little flying fish and everything, and they're like, oh my gosh, this is so fun. They're all laughing, and they're like beating up these people who are trying their hardest. It really goes to show how far they've come as a crew, and just being able to fight together like that. They'll face opponents now that aren't a challenge. Oddly enough, Zoro's having a pretty hard time with it, which I don't understand why, because nothing even happened to him. After Duval's mask is removed, Sanji is immediately pissed off. Maybe it's because they got into a fight for such a stupid reason when Duval could have just grown out a beard or cut his hair. After that, Sanji proceeds to literally rearrange Duval's face, and so ends their beef with Duval. And speaking of beef, Duval's cow, Montobado. This fight marks the first time that we see Luffy use Haki against that cow. He tells the cow that it's pointless to even fight him, and the cow just runs away and falls over. That's called cow tipping. I'll talk more about Haki later though. So now, after that little fun bit, wasn't that nice? Wasn't that sweet? We had a little fun bit. It was funny. Ha ha. Ha ha. So once again, incredible world building, both physical and societal. We find out that the only way for pirates to get past the red line is to go through Sabaody Archipelago and get their ships coated in a bubble resin so that they can go underwater through Fishman Island. While an archipelago is a group of small islands, the Sabaody Archipelago is a group of 79 of the world's largest mangrove trees. The anime calls them the hustle muscle mangroves, and they make bubbles, and I hate bubbles now. One thing that caught my eye in the anime on the rewatch is that when Chopper is observing these mangrove trees and he looks down at the roots, he says, "It's so dark underneath them." And I was like, oh, buddy, you don't know, bro. So my interpretation of Sabaody Archipelago might be unique. Especially unique even. I viewed Sabaody Archipelago as pretty much the post-slavery American South for fishermen and strong pirates. You have the celestial dragons who were born with their privilege and have been living in that privilege for the past 800 years. You have society comprised of individuals who are fearful of, in support of, or apathetic towards slavery and human trafficking. And then you have the government who will send a navy admiral and battleships at the behest of a celestial dragon should any trouble arise. I was terrified this whole time. As soon as they explained that, I was thinking about the Straw Hats. I was like, y'all need to handle your business and y'all need to get out of there yesterday. When he started explaining that no matter what a celestial dragon does, that Luffy couldn't do anything even if a dragon killed somebody in front of him, I knew that they weren't getting out of that island without Luffy laying out a celestial dragon. And before we get into that next section, I want to mention that I never heard Luffy make the promise that he wouldn't hurt a celestial dragon. I heard Hachi ask him to make the promise. I didn't hear Luffy or anyone on that crew actually make that promise. And in the past I've talked about how much promises mean in this world. I think with the past examples of how promises are issued and made and fulfilled, this one was very vague, and so I'm not counting it as a promise that Luffy broke, because I don't think he made this promise in the first place. So the pirate that came out, the pirate with the collar on, the slave pirate, that pirate. This is when I was just like, oh, okay. Because in the beginning, when they mentioned human trafficking, I was just like, okay. But this was just like, okay. And this one's, the pirate comes out with the collar on, talking about how he has a wife and a kid. The kid doesn't even know what he looks like anymore. He doesn't want to be a pirate anymore. He doesn't want to go to the new world. He just wants to go home. Everyone just stands there staring at him. Of course, Luffy's livid. He's like, what can we do? But Hachi is holding him back. The collar starts beeping, and then the collar explodes, and the pirate collapses on the ground. Someone in the crowd says, stay back, ignore him. Meanwhile, Hachi is calmly explaining the whole situation like the pirate should have known better. And then the Celestial Dragons walk up, and Hachi tells Luffy to get off of his bubble bike so that he doesn't draw their attention. And then we see a dog walk up and pee on the pirate that just collapsed. A woman walks up, a Celestial Dragon woman walks up, and she tells the man that he makes her want to vomit. She starts kicking him while he's laying on the ground, and then she takes a gun out and shoots him in the back twice. And that's the introduction to Celestial Dragons. Papagu explains that the Celestial Dragons are the descendants of the creators of the world government. And that's some that's some mess right there. After that was done, I was like, oh, heck no. Where is everybody? Zoro is out walking by himself, and he's not 100% right now. Nami and Robin are at the mall. Hachi and Papagu didn't let Camie go to the mall. What's up with that? And now I'm suspicious of the fishmen. In my mind, the whole entire crew was about to be betrayed. It was not good. After that is when the paranoia set in for me. I was really, really scared. Like all the notions I had of the strength of the Straw Hat crew went out of the window, because the stronger that the members of the crew were, the more attractive that they were to the human traffickers. So them being strong wasn't a solution. It was in fact a very big problem. The Celestial Dragon guy said that he had a ship captain collection. In my mind, everyone was going to end up with collars on by the end of the arc. It would be up to Frankie, Sanji, and Usopp to save everyone. And this is because there was no one enemy on Sabaody. There was no one big bad. They were facing a systemic problem that couldn't just get Gum pistoled away. Though the Celestial Dragons were incorrigible, their actions were socially acceptable. And that's probably the biggest problem. You can't beat sense into an entire society. Those people ignored that man when he was begging for help. He was in the darkest moment of his life, and they just watched like it was Tuesday. They went to Shaki's bar to get information, and she was giving them like food and drinks, and I'm just like, don't eat that, don't drink that, you're gonna get poisoned, you're gonna get sold into slavery. All my radars were going off. I don't want to say fortunately, but my suspicions ended up dying down after Camie got kidnapped. Yeah, I was terrified. I was really scared for the crew. I was scared that it was going to be one of them. And not that like I don't care about Camie, but like in relation to the Straw Hat Pirates, I don't give a crap about Camie. But I'm glad that they saved her, because like, this sounds so awful. This sounds so we awful. Get to the moment when the Celestial Dragon shoots this woman's fiance. And once again, society is turning a blind eye. And then you see those green boots enter the frame. First I was like, yay, Zoro. And then I was just like, oh, Zoro, you idiot. He just walks up, ignorant as ever, asking the Celestial Dragon if he needs directions. Could you be any less self-aware? The dude starts shooting at him, and then Zoro responds to being shot at. And then Jewelry Bonnie, one of the Supernova pirates, she goes and tackles Zoro and diffuses the situation. I like her a lot. One thing that I was kind of confused about was that when she tackled him, he was like, what, a little kid? And like, I didn't think that she was drawn any differently than any of the other women in the show, so I don't know how old she's supposed to be, or maybe that's a power that she has. Zoro takes the fiance who got shot to go to the hospital, while everyone else was just going to leave him there bleeding out on the ground. That really made me happy that we were following the Straw Hats, because in storytelling you gotta think of like whose perspective you're going to follow and everything. Why are we with these people? And especially so when they introduced these 8 other pirate crews who were also taking the same path on the Grand Line, It's like, okay, so like, why are we even following the Straw Hats? And in that moment, I was like, oh, it's because they're good people. And I knew they were good people, but just like in comparison to everyone else, they just shine even brighter. I think this is expanded upon later when they go to rescue Camie from the auction house. Nami doesn't hesitate to spend all of the money that they have in an effort to get her back. We also see the Straw Hats' reactions to people getting sold in front of them, and they're all disgusted. Meanwhile, Kid and Law were there also, and they were just kind of watching passively. They were just kind of there just to watch the show. I don't know why they were there, so that's the only reason that I can assume as to why they were there. I still like the characters though, but I'll get to them later. So the Supernovas, like while we're mentioning them a little bit, they sound pretty darn awesome and they need to be acknowledged. So I'm going to describe all of them in one sentence or less. Capone, he's a basic mob boss. Jewelry Bonnie, this woman will be the death of Sanji. They should never meet. Basil Hawkins, he's got weird eyebrows. Eustace Kid, I like that name, and I think I love that name. Apu, cool powers, too bad he needs 4 elbows to use them. Drake, your name is literally XD, just put a roar in front of it. Mad Monk, he smiles like an Attack on Titan. Killer, sounds accurate in Trafalgar Law. Based on how much merch he has, I thought he was going to be a Straw Hat. So Camie got kidnapped and she's taken to the auction house to be sold into slavery. This is a kid's show. This is a kid's show. This is a kid's show. This show is for children. She's being taken to the auction house to be sold into slavery. She's worth a lot because she's a mermaid. These Straw Hats call the Flying Fish Riders for help. Sanji is smoking 3 cigarettes on his way over there. He's looking at the list of prices for different people. This is a kid's show. They're talking to the auction house dude and he's giving them nothing. We learn, of course, that the government is turning a blind eye to the whole entire situation. They realize that they're not in a situation that they can muscle their way through, so Nami, official treasurer of the Straw Hat Pirates, money-loving Nami, decides to spend all of the money that they have from Thriller Bark to buy Camie and play by their rules to get her back. They have 200 million berries. They're not able to get her back, even with that amount of money, because Drip Nose Celestial Dragon outbids everyone immediately. Luffy makes his entrance and beelines to the front of the stage where Camie is, and in the struggle to stop him, Hachi is revealed to be a fishman. The crowd starts yelling the most disgusting things at Hachi and they start throwing things at him because discrimination. They say that he probably has diseases, and when he gets shot by the Celestial Dragon, they are all glad. Luffy is not glad. Luffy is very mad. Man, darn it. Okay, the sun's coming down. I should have recorded this earlier. We're gonna get through this in time. Hachi grabs Luffy's ankle to stop him from defending him. He tells Luffy that it was his own fault because he knew he shouldn't have come there in the first place. He says it's his fault because it's what he gets for being a bad pirate before in his life. It's just the punishment that he deserves. He reminds Luffy of the promise not to hurt the Celestial Dragons, which was not a promise that Luffy actually made. I'm saying it. Hachi reveals that he wanted to be helpful because of Nami, and he wanted to show her how much he'd changed, and he just wanted her forgiveness. Luffy makes a decision here. He got angry, and then he stopped, and he listened, and he sat down. And then after he listened, he acted. He punched this man back into the second dimension. He punched him so hard, he left a fist print in this man's face. How you gonna get punched in the face and break your legs too? It seemed like this man has broken every single bone in his body from this one punch. That was so satisfying to watch. And after that, we see everybody's reactions. Zoro was ready to cut someone. He was just like, aw man. The whole audience had just seen a celestial dragon get laid out, which was something that they probably had never ever seen in their lifetimes. And meanwhile, the Straw Hats are watching like it's Tuesday. Nami's like, it's Luffy. What are you gonna do? Chopper is giving orders to Frankie. He's like, hey, you go find the keys to go get Camie. I'll tend to Hachi's wounds. And it's just business as usual. And everybody is super comfortable with this situation. So why do I still feel uneasy? Comfort is something that I'll talk about later also. But it's the second time that I've noticed that the Straw Hats are really comfortable in this arc. They're comfortable when they're fighting the Flying Fish Riders. They're comfortable when Luffy punches this dude in the face, which is, I don't want to say it's the same caliber of an infraction, caliber of a offense as firing at the flag of the world government, but it's up there with that. It's up there. They're really comfortable with the situation. They're just like, that's what he does. What are you gonna do? I guess we're fighting now. So yeah, they are very comfortable in this arc until they're not, which I'll get to later. So the other two captains, Eustace Kid, I love that name, and Trafalgar Law are also at the auction house. I don't know what they're doing there, but they're there. They stuck around after the Straw Hat showed up because they wanted to see if Luffy was as crazy as everybody said he was. I was looking back into the manga also, and when Kid first sees Law flicks him off, which makes him so much more of an interesting character. I'm just so glad I saw that he did that. I understand that they probably couldn't show it on TV for reasons, but like, that just makes him so much cooler. I was just like, oh, look what he did. But Kid's my favorite still though. The feeling I get when I see all these other pirate crews is probably the same feeling that people get whenever they're in high school and they see a bunch of kids from a different high school, and it's just like the disrespect is mutual. I love the moment when Kid, Law, and Luffy are fighting over who's going to beat up the Marines. It's just like seeing the three of them walk out of that tunnel, just like arguing, like, I said you can go back inside. I can handle this. And it was just like, oh, they all look so cool. It was nice to see Luffy function among equals because they're all captains at the same level. I liked when Kid was talking to Luffy and he was like, it was nice to meet you, but like next time I see you, it's on site. And then Luffy's like, yeah, whatever, but I'm gonna be the one who finds the One Piece. I think they bonded a little bit because they're all after the same thing, and to everybody else this thing is like imaginary. They're all after the One Piece and they've all been ridiculed for it. We've seen Luffy get roasted for it and he just takes the take no action approach, but apparently other pirates like Kid take the murder everyone in sight approach. I'm gonna close these blinds a little bit. So Ray the shipcoder, aka Dark King Silver's Rayleigh, aka former vice captain of the Roger Pirates and Gold D. Roger's right-hand man, Dark King Silver's Rayleigh, is introduced, and he's so powerful. He said he sold himself into slavery so that he could pay off his debts and rob the person who bought him. As the retired right-hand man to the former king of the pirates, I think it's pretty cool that he's kind of chilling on this island as like a gatekeeper to the new world and helping newer pirates come along. They have a conversation and Robin asks him about the 100 years of missing history, and he says, yes, we know. And I'm like, we? I assume by we he means Gold D. Roger's entire crew, and if that's the entire crew, would that mean Shanks too? Then again, he might not. I don't know. He tells Robin to take her time in learning it and that he and Ohara might have taken it a bit too quickly and that she might end up with different answers if she takes her time. That's just ambiguous stuff like that. He's honestly just bringing up more questions than answers at this point. But he does say that he can tell Robin everything if she wants to know it, and Robin decides that she's going to learn it herself. Then you have Usopp, practical as ever, thinking like, if the answers are right here, then I'm gonna ask the questions. And he starts to ask about the One Piece and where it is. And before he can even get the question out of his mouth, Luffy yells at him. Luffy actually reprimands him, and I'm just like sitting there flabbergasted. The only other time when he's been angry with someone on his crew was also Usopp incidentally, but when Usopp was going through it in Water 7. But other than that, no one's done anything to actually anger him on the crew. And what did Usopp do to make Luffy angry? He almost interfered with Luffy's fun. Usopp almost got the turn-by-turn directions to the One Piece, and Luffy would not have that. He said he will never go on a boring adventure. This whole situation reminded me of a quote that I heard in Hunter x Hunter that makes me feel all warm and fuzzy inside. It says, "Enjoy the side trips. Things that are more important than what you're hunting for could be right there by the side of the road." And Luffy fully understands this. If Luffy was running his ship trying to get to the One Piece as quickly as possible, he would not have formed the relationships that he has currently. He probably wouldn't even have the same crew that he does. Luffy ultimately wants the One Piece not because of power, but because of freedom. The king of the pirates to him means that there is no one above him telling him what he can and can't do, because he can do anything he wants to because he's that powerful. And this was an aspect of his dream that I hadn't thought about before. He always says, "I'm gonna be king of the pirates," and it's like, yeah, that's what he wants, but I never asked why. And so the answer is freedom, which is very interesting. It makes a lot of sense though. Like, Luffy started with nothing, and like, what was stopping him from, I don't know, joining Ace on his pirate ship, joining the Whitebeard pirates? What made him want to form his own crew and start from the bottom? And then you start to think about the type of captain that Luffy is, and he's not the type to give orders and maintain control, but the one thing that his position as captain does is it allows him to make decisions that won't be questioned, whatever decisions that he wants. And that's a freedom that he wouldn't have gotten if he was working under somebody else. I feel like this could be like a whole video about like Luffy working to achieve his like ultimate freedom, and like on his way he's like liberating other people like in Alabasta and like in Skypiea. Yeah, but that's a whole entire video. But I'll have to look into that. So let's take a hard segue into Haki. So far we've seen Luffy and Zoro use it to intimidate other people unintentionally, but Rayleigh can actively use his to make people pass out. The first time we see Haki used in One Piece is with Shanks meeting with Whitebeard. Apparently it's so strong and so terrifying that it makes some of the members of Whitebeard's crew go below deck because they can't handle being above deck with Shanks at the same time. Right now I'm thinking that Haki is kind of like Malicious Nin from Hunter x Hunter, even though Haki probably came first, but just like an aura that you can control to intimidate others. And even non-Devil Fruit users can use it, because Zoro used it, and then you have Sentomaru. But Haki is just one of the many powers that are introduced in this arc alone. You have the powers of the 11 Supernovas. I don't even know what Laws is, but he's over here rearranging people's body parts. You have Kizaru, who is light itself, and he moves too fast to talk that slow. And then we have Rayleigh, and I already talked about Rayleigh a little bit, but I found all of this very overwhelming. If I could describe this arc in one word, it would be overwhelming. The challenges that the crew has faced have become increasingly more difficult, and they've been able to overcome them with each passing adventure. But in this arc, they quite literally reach a wall that they cannot get past. The arc starts simple. The challenge looks familiar. Like I mentioned before, they're really comfortable fighting. Just like Duval, I thought it was going to be someone that I knew, something that was familiar, and then it shifted. Not only is the crew overwhelmed by the caliber of their obstacles, the audience is also overwhelmed. In this short time frame, 21 episodes, we're given a lot of information. This new dark and twisted world, the history about the descendants of the world government, all of these new captains and their abilities and their character designs and their personalities, Haki, more information about Ace, the new admirals, Rayleigh, a new and powerful ally. All of these pacifistas start showing up. Compared to all of this, the Straw Hats, Luffy especially so, seem very simple. His power, his character design, his wants, they all seem very ordinary in this increasingly odd and dangerous world. So when they first see the pacifista, they think it's Kuma. They're like, we've seen this dude before. Luffy starts the fight in second gear. They go all out. After that, everybody is tired, even Luffy, and then the enemy's health bar regenerates. There is a brand new pacifista in front of them, and Sentomaru is also there too. In this moment, Luffy decides to do something that he's always done, but in this specific situation, It is so unlike him. Luffy decides to protect his crew, and in this moment, the best way that he can do that is by telling them to run away. They do not make it far. Sanji's group is getting chased by a pacifista. Luffy's group has to deal with Sentomaru, and when Kizaru shows up, he goes after Zoro's group, and Zoro is not doing well at all. Zoro is already in real bad shape. All around him, Luffy is hearing these screams of his crewmates, and all he can do is yell for them to run. He can't protect them, he's just pleading for them to protect each other. Usopp and Brook try to protect Zoro, but Kizaru drank his Sunny D growing up and now he's made of light. Zoro cannot move, he's almost done for. Thank goodness Rayleigh shows up in his chanclas. He left the house and didn't even put real shoes on. There's a brief reprieve, but everyone is back to running. Sanji leaves Nami to go protect Zoro, which is saying a whole freaking lot. And Chopper sees everybody getting beaten up, and he immediately chomps down on 3 rumble balls, turning into Monster Chopper, meaning that in that moment, the best way that he believed he could help protect his crewmates involved his not being in control of his own body. And then Kuma shows up. I think I might have interpreted this moment a bit different than Oda had intended, or a bit different than anybody else seen it. Nah, I won't be as pretentious as to say that. But I was kind of happy when Kuma showed up. I had been stressed out with this whole arc, with all of this new information. And then when Kuma showed up, I was like, finally a familiar face. I was just like, thank goodness. I don't know if that would be like a double type of situation, or because I know that Kuma's a good Christian boy who goes to church and reads his Bible, but I was relieved. He told the pacifista that was about to attack Zoro to stand down before Zoro got bopped away. In that moment, Kuma wasn't giving me no, I want to kill him myself vibes, so I was pretty much good with what he was doing. It was jarring, of course, but I wasn't super concerned. After what happened at Thriller Bark, I didn't think that Kuma was out to get Zoro at all, so I concluded quickly that Kuma was not there to harm the Straw Hats. Kuma also whispered something to Rayleigh that he wasn't cooperating with the world government. I don't know, but if I was Kuma and I was a fancy robot, and all of a sudden all of these other fancy robots kept popping up that looked just like me, I would be pissed also. I think this was kind of Kuma going rogue to keep the Straw Hats alive. He tells Luffy before he pushes Luffy away that this would be the last time that he would be seeing him. And so maybe like Kuma's about to get like dismantled or something, or punished in some type of way. And that's why Luffy wouldn't be seeing him anymore. Either way, I was just watching the whole thing. I'm like, this is fine. They're getting off the island. This is fine. I thought that Kuma would be like putting them on like this ship or something like that. But Luffy, of course, did not think it was fine. The whole time I was watching Luffy thinking, that's rough, buddy. I know, watching that scene, I know it was hard for him. He failed at the one job that he had given himself as the captain. He failed at protecting his crewmates. He watched them disappear one by one right before his eyes. And was it just me, or did the animators go ham on animating his anguish? This whole episode seemed to be especially animated, like Robin running away at one moment. The movements look less jerky than they do sometimes. So this, I think they put a little bit extra into this episode's animation budget, because Luffy was on that ground banging his, oh, that was bad. Oh, he was, oh. The whole episode was very well done. The bubble popping scenes, when it showed the bubbles popping and then the screen would go black, that was a great choice for this arc. It just added a little bit extra drama. I had seen that black screen before in the arc when Camie sees the teddy bear mascot behind her and she smiles and then the screen goes black because she just got kidnapped. And they took that and they expanded upon that, especially more so in this specific episode 405. So I think that was a really good choice. It added extra drama. For me, the crew disappearing was not the most upsetting part of this arc. I could tell that it was devastating for the characters in the show. I was just happy that they were getting off of the island. But anyway, going back to Luffy, this was all Luffy's fault. If he hadn't punched that celestial dragon, then none of this would have happened. He's faced the consequences of his choices before and won, but this is him losing. After all of his crewmates disappeared, Luffy is sobbing on the ground, saying that he is useless and that he couldn't protect his crewmates, which matches the theme of worthlessness in this arc. Zoro said something similar when they were running and he couldn't move. He said, "Just leave me here." He was having those same feelings of worthlessness, which is interesting to see because I think back to the ghosts, Perona's ghosts in Thriller Bark, and they were floating through them, and then they would have those feelings like, I'm useless, I'm worthless, and then they're feeling the same way in this arc, but there ain't no ghosts around here. And then you have the whole slavery situation where these celestial dragons are paying these exorbitant amounts of money for these people just to treat them like they're worthless. The arc ends with Luffy in the headspace that he's failed. And after an arc like Thriller Bark with a message about having hope in the darkness, this arc was pretty darn dark, and it ended without any hope. But stories about hope always have to be hopeless at some point. That's just how it has to be. Like the quote says, everybody wants happiness, nobody wants pain, but you can't have a rainbow without a little rain. And I think it's dark moments like this that will make the crew's reunion in the future all the more brighter. And if you think that we're going to end this video on a good note, then you can think again. Everybody gets news during this arc that Ace's public execution has been scheduled. They've been mentioning this since post Enies lobby, and this whole situation makes me feel like the audience is being prepared. Luffy seems to have a nonchalant attitude about the whole thing, and maybe that's because Whitebeard is taking matters into his own hands, it looks like. Side note, why do they call him Whitebeard when he's only got a white mustache? But I feel like Luffy needs to be a part of this, and I know he will be, otherwise Oda wouldn't have foreshadowed it so hard. Also, this feels like a Chekhov's gun type of situation. Just like the human trafficking, you can't toss around a public execution without having someone end up on the gallows at the end of the day. It's been the main subject at the end of each arc, and it's been ramping up. First we heard that Ace was fighting Blackbeard, next we heard that he lost and now he's in him held down, and then now his execution has been scheduled. I think that Ace might get really close to dying. And according to the Beaver card, it seems like he already is. But it seems like it's going to happen soon, and the crew just got split up. So things aren't looking fantastic. Either he'll almost die and Luffy will save him, or he will die and Luffy will see it. And that would work wonders for his character development. It's kind of like how the hero's journey and anime protagonists always have orphans or people who are estranged from their parents. And I think so far Ace and Garp are the two most parental figures that we've seen for Luffy. But that would also mean that Garp is in trouble too. This was a fantastic arc. It made me feel emotions. Predominantly negative emotions, but emotions nonetheless. Once again, I've been Meanie Mosey. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I shall see y'all in the next arc.